Hi everyone, it's Ash from FPL Hints, back with some more pre-season content. As always, if you're able to like, share and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. Right then, what I was going to do in this video was to rate more of your drafts, as I did when the game went live. But I thought actually, I've done quite a few drafts myself and I've not really rated them in any shape or form. And rather than giving like a personalized rating from 1 to 5, I thought it best to use an automation tool. And thankfully, our friends at FPL.team have an expected FPL points tool whereby I can literally pop in my draft data and get those drafts rated. And of course, I've had a number of different drafts that I've compiled during preseason. There'll be 6 drafts in particular that I'll be rating to see what their expected FPL points are. And the ones that I'll have are the bench boost mock draft that I have compiled, but that's not one of my official drafts. I'll do my latest draft, which is a no Haaland and no Salah draft. I'll do the content creators 15 draft, which I was involved with. And then going further back, I will also rate the no Salah draft that I did, as well as the no Haaland draft. And lastly, I'll also rate the Salah and Haaland draft that I did right at the very start. And if I base it just solely on predictions alone and what I expect that the expected FPL points will cook up here, I'm expecting that the Salah and Haaland draft may not score as highly as expected, but I do feel that the one where you have either Haaland or Salah should do considerably well, whereas the no Haaland and no Salah draft probably might fall a bit short. So that's where my thinking is right now. So working backwards, we'll do the bench boost mock draft. And of course, with the bench boost, we'll get more points on that. But the fact I've done the mock draft for the bench boost, it's only fair to also put that in here as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into it and see what the expected FPL points are with FPL.team's expected FPL points tool. So first of all, going to get my goalkeepers sorted here. So I've got Henderson in goal with this bench boost. In fact, if I sort this by ownership as well, there he is, Henderson. And the sub goalie for the bench boost was Nick Pope of Newcastle United. So let's just confirm him in as well. There we go. And of course, mock draft, just to reiterate. So have to activate the bench boost here as well to allow for those points to be counted. There he is, Nick Pope. And the defense for the mock bench boost was Saliba, Mikalenko, Van Dijk, Anderson, and Konsa. So let's just get them in as well. So sort it by position. Let's get the defenders in. There he is, Saliba against Wolves in that opening fixture. And get the other defenders in as well. Anderson, if I can find them out as well. Konsa, and then going to the bench, Mikalenko, there he is, and Virgil van Dijk. And let's just get the midfielders in as well. So select it by position, and the midfielders for the mock bench boost draft are Saka. Let's get him in. I've got Mohamed Salah in this draft as well. And then maxed out on the other premiums, but I do have Eze in the mock draft. And if I can just get it here as well, Hudson-Odoi, if I can find him here as well. Might need to go further down for him. Can't see, there he is. And then the fifth midfielder, so just to recap, that was Saka, Hudson-Odoi, Eze, and Salah. Have I got them all there? Hudson-Odoi and Mohamed Salah. And of course, how could I not forget Anthony Gordon for this bench boost as well, going all the way up. There he is. So now the points for the bench boost stand at 47.3. I need to just make sure the captain is correct. It would be Mohamed Salah against Ipswich for the opening game. So currently 49 expected FPL points. And then I've got 3 slots to fill now, which are Havertz, Wood, and Isak. So select it by position, go to forwards. There they are. So in comes Isak, in comes Havertz, and in comes Wood, if I can find him. There he is. So an active bench boost, and with this, I'm expecting this to be my highest tally. It's that. Oh, I haven't selected the goalkeeper there. Beg your pardon. So not sure what happened there. So I need to transfer in a goalkeeper as well. The other goalkeeper was Nick Pope. I'm not sure why he wasn't selected. There we go. So that is the bench boost now fully enabled. And again, expected FPL points quite strict here, but it's saying 67.5 points on bench boost. So yeah, without a doubt, the fact that I'm able to select 15 players and it's saying it's 67.5 points, I'll be very shocked if any of my other drafts, which are non-bench boost drafts, would even come as close to that. And also what I will do, because I don't need the bench boost anymore, just remove the bench boost out of interest. And of course, the expected FPL points drop as well. So I'm going to remove Gordon from the bench, Mikalenko, Virgil van Dijk. If I can just do that as well. Let's just sub them out for some players who aren't in any of my drafts. So that's the baseline bench I've got there for now. So I'm now going to work onto my next draft, which is my own actual draft as things stand. It's a no Haaland and no Salah draft. I've got Henderson in goal, so no changes there. I've got Saliba, so no changes there. I have Trent Alexander-Arnold. And the other defender that I have right now is Gvardiol. In he comes. And then my midfield, without Haaland and Salah, I've got Saka. Haven't got Mohamed Salah. I have got Palmer. I've got Foden. I haven't got Eze. And it's a 3-5-2 as well. So I just need to shift out one forward spot. Get Wood out. Just get Fraser in for now. Although Fraser isn't my actual sub, but doesn't really matter from the XFPL point of view. So the other player I've got is Morgan Rogers for my 5th midfield spot as things stand. There he is. So Rogers, Saka, Palmer, Foden, Hudson-Odoi, and my 2 strikers in my actual draft as things stand without Haaland and Salah, I've got Isak and Watkins. So out goes Havertz. Just going all the way up. There he is. And Watkins. So just want to make sure that bench boost is off. Yes, it is. So my own actual draft as rated by FPL.team, and the captain I would pick for this opening fixture would be Saka. So I think they also have recommendations as well. There we go. So the assistant manager, according to FPL.team, is recommending that I back Saka for the captaincy and Isak as my vice captain. That's quite handy that validates that. Now, expected FPL points. So saying I've got 2 million in the bank, I think we can just ignore that for now because my bench is slightly different, but it's just more the actual starting 11. Isak, Watkins, that's all right. Just to make sure it's all adding up. Gvardiol, that's all correct as well. Palmer, Saka, Rogers, Foden, and Gordon. So for my own actual draft, it's projecting that I've got 54.2 x FPL points. Again, fairly strict with the way that these points are being calculated on FPL.team, but it gives me an indication as to where I stand versus the bench boost. Of course, considerably less points, as you'd expect, compared to a bench boost. And moving on to the next draft that I'm going to be rating, it's the Content Creators 15 that was picked by myself and 14 other content creators. So let's just see how that fares in comparison to my draft. So we have got Henderson in goal. The defense consists of Mikalenko, Trent, and Munoz. So let's just get Saliba out. Here's Munoz in. If I've got his name right there, just if I can find him. There he is. And then the other defender, Gvardiol, out. Mikalenko in. There he is. That's defense. And the midfield for the Content Creators 15 consisted of Bruno, Saka, Eze, Rogers, Gordon. So keep Rogers. I keep Saka. Palmer can't be included in this. So I get rid of Palmer. And I get in Eze, if I can find him. There he is. And we haven't got Foden in this draft. So out goes Foden. But we do have Gordon. So say swap there. Both had 27 goal involvements last season. And the last player is Bruno Fernandes. There he is. And then the strike force for this draft, for the Content Creators 15, it's Haaland and Isak. There we go. And just making sure, yeah, bench doesn't really matter, so don't worry about that. And again, the bank, don't worry too much about that as well, because the Content Creators 15 actually had two 4.5 players on the bench. But there we go, 55 expected FPL points. So that is marginally better than my actual no Haaland and no Salah draft. And as I pointed out at the start of the video, I would anticipate that a draft that has either Haaland or Salah would potentially do better on the XFPL points. And that brings us on to our next draft now. So that's a no Salah draft. So with that, we have Sanchez in goal. And this was one of the mock drafts that I had. If I can just find Sanchez, there he is. And that is backed up with a defense of Trent Alexander-Arnold. And with Trent, it's Saliba and Porro. So there's Saliba, and get rid of Munoz and get in Porro. And then with the no Salah draft, we've got Palmer and Kunku, Garnacho, Hudson-Odoi, Gordon. So just make sure Gordon's there. Let's get in Garnacho. There's no Saka. So we get in Hudson-Odoi. There we go. So just find the other two players. So that was Palmer and Nkunku. So there's no Rogers. Just going all the way back up. There's Nkunku. There's no Eze. But we have got Palmer. And the strikers for the no Salah draft are Haaland and Watkins. So Isak goes in this instance. And the captain for this draft, I would give it to, let's give it to Haaland for that opening game. So according to this no Salah draft, that's been rated at 56.4. Very interesting. So among the non-bench boost drafts that I've compiled, that is the highest one so far. So let's see if the no Haaland draft can potentially beat that now. So no pressure there. So no Haaland draft, Sanchez in goal, so no changes there. A defense of Gvardiol, Saliba, and Martinez. So let's just make those changes. There's no Trent in this instance. Gvardiol, and they got Martinez of Manchester United, if I can just find him here. £4.5 million. There we go. The midfield in this no Haaland draft consists of Foden, Palmer, Gordon, Salah, and Hudson-Odoi. So Garnacho goes. Mohamed Salah comes in. Got Gordon, Hudson-Odoi. So out goes Nkunku. And just to reconfirm that, that was Foden, Palmer, Gordon, Salah, and Hudson-Odoi. Just make sure they're all right. There we go. Just get Foden in. And the strike force in the no Haaland draft, it's Havertz and Watkins. So there we go. And I would have the captaincy on Mohamed Salah for that opening fixture against Ipswich for this draft. And yeah, bench doesn't really matter. I think the maths adds up. So it's quite interesting here. The expected FPL points drops to 54.4 points. So we've seen a trend so far whereby the no Salah draft actually fared higher compared to the no Haaland draft. And that basically then leaves us with the final draft, and that was my first official FPL draft when the game launched, and that was a Haaland and Salah draft. And I'll be shocked now if that does better than any of the ones that we've shown, which are far more balanced. So in my draft there, I had David Raya in goal. So in comes David Raya. I had a defence of Anderson, Burn, and Martinez for that opening pick. So Anderson, got Dan Burn, Martinez is already there. And I had a bit of a lopsided midfield, so I have to bring in one of my forwards. Just ignore that it's Fraser. And I'll take out, let's just say Hudson-Odoi for now. Just do a quick swap. There we go. So my midfield was Mohamed Salah. Couldn't afford Anthony Gordon, but I did have Odegaard. Couldn't afford Palmer, but I did have Nkunku. Couldn't afford Foden, and I had Thomas Suchek. Let's just see where he is in terms of percentage owned here. Just going all the way down. It's pretty much a super differential at this stage. And then my three strikers in that Haaland and Salah draft consisted of Havertz, Isak, and Haaland. So there's no space for Watkins. Probably could have done a better job balancing it up, but let's see where it ends up here. And I'm going to shift the captaincy to see if I get more points on either Haaland or Salah. So there's Haaland, and that last slot is Isak. There we go. So captaincy for now. Let's just see what the assistant manager is recommending. It's recommending almost 50-50 between Salah and Haaland. Let's keep it on Haaland. Let's make Mohamed Salah the vice captain. And again, going to see the expected FPL points. I'll be shocked if this does better than any of the other drafts that I've compiled. And yet, as I've predicted, 52.8 points, which further validates that you can't have a balanced team with Mohamed Salah and Haaland. And we've seen it. Of course, the bench boost, you can pretty much ignore that. But just to recap, 52.8 points with the Haaland and Salah draft. And just from my own personal perspective, I know I've experimented with Haaland and Salah, no Haaland, and without either of them. I feel that the elite FPL managers aren't going to have a Haaland and Salah draft. I'll be very shocked if that's the case. Some might risk having a no Haaland and no Salah draft, but I think the balance ultimately is in those FPL drafts where they either have one or the other. And we've seen that with the expected FPL points here shown on FPL.team as well. Just to further recap, the Salah and Haaland draft was the lowest with 52.8 points. Going backwards was the no Haaland draft, which was 54.4 points. But the one that actually did quite well was the no Salah draft with 56.4 points. And then Content Creators 15, respectable at 55 points. And then the latest no Haaland and no Salah draft that I had was 54.2 points. And if you want to know further details with the way in which they calculate expected FPL points, then by all means feel free to reach out to them. If you want to try out this tool that I've been using to rate the drafts here, then by all means go to fpl.team for further information. But there you have it. That is, again, I've flipped the finger, as it were, and basically rated my own drafts instead of your drafts this time around. And it further shows you that you really need to strike a balance, and you can't just shoehorn that like the most expensive players and then have like a wonky team. Just you've got to look for the value and just balance out those funds accordingly. And yeah, what I will do, I haven't forgotten that I've still got plenty of other drafts to rate. I've got quite a few messages asking for drafts to be rated, so I intend on rating more of your drafts uh, in the days ahead before the game week 1 deadline. I've also got the famous Fabio Borges predicted lineup still to do. For those that remember last season, I predicted 4 out of 5 of his actual defence and 4 out of 5 of his actual midfield as well. So I was fairly pleased with that. So I have an idea on the kind of team that he would pick. So hopefully in the days ahead, I'll compile my Fabio Borges predicted team as well. But yeah, beyond that, as always, if you're able to like, share, and subscribe, that will be greatly appreciated. Let me know what you think of these expected FPL points on the FPL.team tool. I know that the points seem quite strict, but I think they've given me a very good indication on the direction of travel that I need to go to when it comes to my own team and when I update it next. And I know it's a no Haaland and no Salah draft at the moment, but really, the community shield will ultimately determine the kind of like further changes that I will undertake. And I personally feel that I will be forced into making that decision on either picking Haaland or Mohamed Salah. But effective ownership hopefully won't be as damaging this time around when Haaland isn't 80 to 90% owned. And yeah, there you have it. Take care and all the best.